Need to make a correction. I don't know if some of you noticed, but when the custodians knocked at the door, I kind of got a little distracted. I actually made a mistake on B. So we're going to go back and we're going to fix that right now so you can see that. I'm going to erase this part, and this part, and this part. Okay, so now my mistake actually was that this didn't erase enough. This should be 16x. So that should be 16x, and x should be equal to 7 then. Substitute the 7 back in, so you have 2 times 7 plus y equals 20. So you have 14 plus y equals 20. Subtract the 14 from both sides, and you'll get that y is equal to 6. So the solution to this is 7, 6. Okay, 7, 6. So if you have that on your paper, just go back. Hopefully, most of you actually caught that mistake. Actually, that'd be really great if you said, no, what are you doing? Okay? Now we're going to move on and finish up this packet and move on to the vocabulary. So then there are a few just algebra review problems. So let's take a look at the first one. I'm going to use the distributive property. So you have 3x plus 6 is equal to 17. Subtract the 6 from both sides, and you'll have 3x is equal to 11. Divide by 3, so x is equal to 11 thirds for A. Same thing for B. Distributive property gives us minus 4x. And then negative 4 times negative 7 gives me a plus 28 equals 42. So I have minus 4x is equal to 14. Divide by negative 4. And you should get that x is equal to negative 14 fourths. And you should reduce that, if you see that, to 7 halves. And the last one, C, again, distributive property. I get negative 5x minus 75 equals negative 25. Add the 75 to both sides, and I get minus 5x is equal to 50. Divide by negative 5, and I get x is equal to negative 10. Okay, so that's actually the math type work from this section. Now let's move on to the vocabulary section of the review. Okay, we're going to start with inductive reasoning. And remember, inductive reasoning is reasoning based on patterns. These are patterns that you observe. For example, I might have the sequence 3, 6, 12, 24, etc. And I might ask you to come up with the next 2 terms in that sequence. So you would look at the pattern that's developed here. The second term is derived from taking the first term times 2, and then so on. Second term times 2 gives us a third term. Third term times 2 gives us a fourth term. So we could predict that the next 2 terms would be 48 and 96. Conjecture is a conclusion that you reach using inductive reasoning. Okay, and so for this example for inductive reasoning, I came to the conclusion that if I multiply a number by 2, I will arrive at the next number. So from this example, if I multiply a number by 2, I get the next number. Next is counterexample, and that is an example that proves a conjecture false. Okay, an example of that might be if you have the statement, all cars have 4 seats. My counterexample to that would be a BMW Z4, which only has 2 seats. Okay, so that's my counterexample. Remember, these definitions will be matching, so it's important that you have an understanding of the definition. Remember, in section 1-2, the only definition we're going to focus on is the definition of a net. A net is a two-dimensional figure that is folded to create a three-dimensional solid. So, for example, I might have a cube, and if this were cut apart, it would look very similar to this. So that would be the net of the cube. And then if you fold it along the lines, it would form a cube. We looked at some of those in class. Next is a point. A point is a location. It has no size, and it is represented by a dot. And we talked about a point will be named with a capital letter. So it's named with a capital letter. Remember, there's also some notation matching. Okay, space. Space is the set of all points. I don't really have a picture or a symbol for that. Next is a line. A line is a series of points that extend in two opposite directions. An example would be if I had A, B, and that is my line. Remember the notation for line AB would be AB with the line. This particular line can be called AB or BA. Both are correct. Next definition, collinear points. They are points that lie on the same line. Collinear points. So A, B, and C are all on the same line, and they are collinear. Next is a continuation of section 1.3. 1.3, the next is a plane, and a plane is a flat surface that has no thickness, and it is 2 dimensions. So it's 2 dimensions. Okay, when we look at a plane, this, we need at least 3 non-collinear points to have a plane. Okay, a plane can be named with 3 letters, or it might just have, and I don't think we talked about this in class, it's not on the quiz, it might just have 1 capital letter that talks about the plane. If these are points in the plane, they will have points there. The important thing to note is if you are talking about a plane, you have to have at least 3 letters to name a plane. Coplanar are points and lines in the same plane. So let's say I have a plane here. And I can have lines or points that are in that plane, and they are coplanar. Postulum and axiom should be together, so you don't have to write this twice. A postulate or an axiom is an accepted statement of fact. And then the last section, section 1-4. A segment is a part of a line containing 2 endpoints. Okay, so the notation is very similar to a line, only this time I have this segment AB, which stops. The notation for that will be AB. No arrows this time, or BA. To talk about that. Okay, so that's the notation for a segment. You need to know the difference between a line, which continues indefinitely, and a segment, which actually has some endpoints or stopping points. Next is array. An array is a part of a line consisting of one endpoint and all of the points in the other direction. So a part of a line, I'm not going to have room for all of this. I'm just going to put with one endpoint and continuing indefinitely. In one direction. So, for example, I might have ray AB, where the initial point is A, and it passes through B. The notation is AB, and this time that's the only way we can write it. We can't write BA with the initial point over B because that's not a true statement. Okay, the next one, opposite rays. They are two collinear rays with the same initial point or the same end point. Okay, so what that looks like is I have an initial point A, and I have a ray AB, and then I have a ray going in the opposite direction, AC. They share the initial point A. So we can say that ray AB and ray AC are opposite. Next one, parallel planes, and these are planes that do not intersect. Planes that do not intersect. So I might have this plane, A, B, C, and it might be parallel to this plane, C, D, E. So my notation might be that A, B, C is parallel to D, E, F. Remember the notation for parallel are those two vertical lines. Parallel lines are coplanar lines that do not intersect. So they're in one plane, coplanar lines that do not intersect. Remember, parallel lines have the same slope, but different y-intercepts. Which will become increasingly important that we're aware of that. So I might have two parallel lines, A, B, and C, D. Remember, if they're parallel, they could also have those little arrows on them that indicate they're parallel. So if it's a figure and they're parallel, they will have matching arrows. Okay, they will have matching arrows. So I want to talk about line AB. So line AB is parallel to CD. Okay. If we're looking at the slope, I might have something like y is equal to 2x plus 4, and y is equal to 2x minus 7. They are parallel lines. They have the same slope, different y-intercepts. Okay, and our last word is skew line. Skew line is a non-coplanar line. Non-coplanar lines that are not parallel and do not intersect. So skew lines, non-coplanar lines that are not parallel and do not intersect. And so let's look at a cube, because this will be, skew lines, remember, happen in 3 dimensions, not 2. So here's my cube. So skew lines, oops, sorry about that. Skew lines will be lines that don't intersect. For example, the front top and the bottom right, they are neither parallel nor will they intersect. So they are therefore skew lines. And that is all of the review. Study hard, and I hope to see you tomorrow, and I hope you all do well. Thank you. Have a nice evening.